Hi, Kelly O'Neill here from Kelly O'Neill Creative. Here's a little glimpse of the process of creating my mixed media canvas, Huginn and MUNINN. I'd been thinking about how strange memory is and how events get buried under layers of time, and I thought that Huginn and MUNINN, Odin's ravens, known to be thought and memory, were a good way to explore that. So here's the process I generally go through, and some things I didn't record because I'm a little impulsive. I start with an idea and then I start going through magazines, and I'll tear things out that I may never use, or sometimes I'll find things that just completely change the direction of the piece. So I'm looking for new inspiration as well as something to help me create the ideas I already have. Then I will create papers on usually something transparent like tracing paper or tissue paper or deli paper. This is deli paper. And you can see it the paint sort of beads up on deli paper. This is watercolor paper, which is fine. I want it to be random. On tissue paper or on tracing paper, it's a little different because they're both a little more absorbent, and they're both fun. They're all fun to use and have different outcomes. If you then texturize it, you can scrunch it all up and it'll dry with crinkles, and that's really fun too. So I make a bunch of those and I put them aside and I see where they're going to be used. And then I'll go through these boxes of letters that my cousin sent me between my grandparents. My grandfather was a pilot and he was away a lot, so there are a lot of letters. And it's so much fun to read them and get to know my grandfather who died when I was very young. So that's part of the process too. And then I find random interesting things to put into the canvas. Stamps are always good because the old stamps are so pretty and so colorful. And I never know what random things will come through from the letters. Then I'll get the canvas primed in a single color to try and unify it. And then I sort of have to lay the whole thing flat on the floor so I can experiment. I'll use matte medium as an adhesive. So this is an experimental phase. I've not planned that much out except just the very basics of the composition, but the colors and how this is going to go is all improvisational. A lot of what you're seeing here is going to get covered up. So my initial idea would be this really vibrant colored canvas of reds and pinks and greens. It kind of changed as I went. Here's me going through all of these stamps that I tore out. They're so pretty. So this is all experimentation. I don't really know where I'm going. Because if I planned it out too much, then I get maybe not bored, but the exploration is gone. So I will put the matte and medium on the back of each piece and then fix it to the canvas. And the transparency papers, whether it's tissue or tracing paper or deli paper, you can see, even with the paint on it, watercolor on it, you can see right through it. Now, if you use more opaque paints, that's different, but you can do that too. But with the transparency paper, I put it down, you can see what's beneath it. There's also color on it, and then I can overlay more color on top of that so that there's just more and more depth to the piece as you go. And then at some point, I realized that my eyeball wanted some blue in there. Now this is just random. I just started throwing blue on the canvas because I just needed that to pull it into a different direction. And I liked the blue on the yellow, and I liked the way the blue was breaking up a lot of the purples and greens and reds that I had in there. And you'll see at the end just how obscured a lot of this does become. But it does come through in the end. I also like to use a lot of different things, like inks. I love to use this Bombay ink, and when you drip it onto the canvas and squirt it with water, it creates this wonderful spidery effect, and I just love that. And you can see here, I've skipped some of the process where I've overlaid dry brush of white to obscure certain things. And dry brush is a lot of fun to use on top of all the papers because it'll sometimes just hit the tops that crinkle up, and I don't bother with trying to keep things flat. Here's another piece that I skipped because I get a little impulsive when I get in the studio, but I did create this raven on deli paper. Maybe it was tracing paper, but the point of that is that when you then put it down, you can see all of the colors that you've already put on the canvas, and it comes through, and then the ink on top of that. And I do love pen and ink work. So this is after it's already affixed, and then I'm going over it with some detail. And, a lot of pen is, you might find some pens that are waterproof or fade proof, but I'll always affix that with a spray because I don't want it to run when I put the liquid varnish on later. But you can also see ink splatters there. I was trying to really get some movement, even though this raven is stationary. I wanted some movement with that. Then I have some pastels, and I'll just scumble with some pastels. And this is, me trying to really work in some lines, very faint white lines that will still create movement within all of this chaos. Because birds are all about movement. Even the ones that are perched are still all about movement. Here's me spraying with the first layer of affixative. And because you do have to get those inks and affixed. And I'll use any of these three. Krylon has several spray fixatives, and they're all fine. They all work. I'll usually do 2 layers of that, and then I will put the liquid varnish on, because then it won't run. The inks won't run with the liquid after I've sprayed, and I'll usually use a Liquitex. Varnish gives a little sheen. I like to use a mixture of sometimes varnish and matte to get a little less sheen, but it's all up to you. You can mix them or do whatever you like. So there they are. So Huginn and MUNINN, they were Odin's ravens, the Norse All-Father, and he would send them out across the globe to bring wisdom back to him every day. And he was sometimes afraid one of them wouldn't appear, and he wasn't sure which would have been more fearful, if memory didn't come back or if thought didn't come back, but they're certainly inextricably linked. And so is memory, and even thought for that matter, something so affixed as the earth? I have some stones in here. You can see some photos of stones affixed in here. Oh, there's a logo of my grandfather's. That's from the Army when my grandfather was a pilot, from 1944. Halloween. Look at that. But there's some rocks and stones I've got in here, but I have them sort of flying through the canvas, because even though our thoughts are real, and I do believe that they are real, solid things, they're also very fleeting. And so I have them hopefully moving through the canvas with some energy. And you can see all the layers here. The more layers you put in, the deeper the piece is going to be. And sometimes you'll obscure things that you loved, that you found, but that's okay, they peek through. That skull, I just liked the look of it, and I remembered later, Odin hung upside down from the Yggdrasil studying the runes to gain wisdom, and he plucked an eye out as a sacrifice for that wisdom. So the covering of that one eye on that skull was kind of an accident, but it worked out. And that's what I mean about improvisation. When you are hooked into the piece, messages come to you, things come to you in the improv that your intellectual process is not engaged in, and your intuitive process is taking over. And there's more letter. It says "Love Daddy" at the end of that. And I love putting those in there. So my cultural DNA is infused in there, and that I'm interested in my Norse and Celtic heritage. I love those branches of trees there at the end of that branch. But also my actual family history is just woven into there, as well as I'm infusing it with their love. They had a great love story, my grandparents. And there it is, Huginn and MUNINN. And it is available on my website. Payment plans split payment plans are available. And thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. Sorry for the gaps that I didn't record, but I get a little impulsive. Let me know if you have questions in the comments. And thanks for watching.